listen.
I've been hearing a lot lately about men don't talk, but in my experience, men do talk, just people aren't listening. So it's going to be me and a group of blokes discussing our struggles and victories through life. Warning, there may be some bad language, so apologies to all the mums, especially my own. Let's get going.
Listen.
I've been at this the Black Country Blokes, chewing the fat about everything that is mental health, disability, and life in general. Here with me, Kev Dillon, and my partner in crime, Lee Cadman. Now, just before I announce the title of our show, as we always say, there might be some swearing, so apologies to all the mums out there, especially my own. And today's is going to be called Disabled and Fucked. And the reason why we called it that, because sometimes there's no other word to say it. As we've said on this show so many times, disabled people often get the blunt of everything. I mean, we're now coming to the end of a coronavirus thing, whether we want to or not. Maybe life has got to come back to some kind of normality, where people now are allowed to have coronavirus and go back to work, whether you believe that or you think that's right or wrong. But the thing that me and Lee were talking about, now that people have now got to start paying or will have to start paying for the tests. So 9 times out of 10, the people who will have to pay, who will choose to make the conscious decision to have a test and then pay for it, are going to be people who are either vulnerable themselves or are around vulnerable people, i.e. the carers. So the people who probably can't afford it, who are on carers allowance or on benefits, are going to be the ones who are going to have to pay for it. And it's like me and Lee were talking off air earlier. And if we work together, and I know his situation, having a vulnerable person in the house, I would still have to go to work because I wouldn't be able to afford not to go to work. And then he wouldn't be able to say anything. And it's going to be these dilemmas for people. And then you're thinking, well, I haven't got that. We don't know how much it has come out, how much a test is going to cost yet.
I think they're looking at £5. I don't think it's confirmed though. So, yeah.
But £5,
£5 a box, I think.
But £5 a box, £5 is nothing if you've got the money. But £5 is a lot of money if you haven't. And when you're thinking, I want to see my mum, I want to see my nan, I want to come around your house, and you're thinking, can I afford that extra £5? And we were saying once again with the gas and electricity going up, and with your rates going up, and with this going up, and everything's going up apart from wages and benefits and all these things, it's the people on the bottom that will suffer.
Yeah, and I think sometimes we forget that we're shown through newspapers that people on benefits are all the scum of the earth and it's all terrible. But actually, there's people on benefits who really need that money.
Yeah.
There's people on benefits who deserve it, who we need to look after. If we're not looking after the most vulnerable people in our society, then something is well wrong. Something is well off. If we're not feeling empathy for people who are out there with disabilities, who are struggling, who never have this extra worry of, well, I've got to get my carers in to look after me, but who's going to then pay for this? Because if let's say you've got 3 carers, and then you have to pay £15 to keep those people stocked up for 1 week with tests, that's at least 1 hour less that they can care for you. And 1 hour doesn't seem a lot to most people, but actually carers you're already stripped down to a really minimum amount of hours that you're able to use to get people in to help you. It's not an endless supply of hours, and you can throw them around when you like. So you're already losing an hour off having 3 carers.
And we sound like disabled people through having carers and being a carer and then being in a care home or working with these people. You've got to be a special breed of caring, loving person. And we've just had this big thing. If they weren't vaccinated, they were losing their jobs. And as we know, anyone who's works in the care industry or has people in nursing homes or in hospices and places like these, we already know there's not enough of them about. And when we're losing people, it falls back on the vulnerable again. And I've got friends who've worked in the care. We have them up here at the ladies' class, and good friends and nurses, and they're stretched to the bone. They're not just a carer looking after, they're a carer, they're a clearer, they're a matriarch, they're looking after the pills, wiping bums, making sure, and then having that human level of sitting with them, having a conversation with them. And when there's not enough of them,
that's become an afterthought of it now, hasn't it? Because that rush for time, that actually they're just there to do a job instead of helping mental well-being as well. While they're there, they're there to, well, I've got to get you up, washed, changed, fed, all that stuff, and I've only got an hour. So and again, you then start losing that human element of it, because you're just trying to get it done so you can get onto your next job, so you don't get fired.
A bit of lipstick on, a bit of conversation. Have you seen your grandkids? Like, have you seen having them conversations? Because sometimes you're the only person that care about that human angel. Is the only person who that person will see and talk to and bond with. And when it is, I'm ever so sorry to cut this short, because I've got another 15 people on the ward, or I've got, there's only so much that people can do. So what we're trying to do here, yes, the mental health, and mental health comes into physical health, because whether you're that carer, you're trying your best to be everything. Something's got to give. And then that affects your mental health, your mental well-being. And I see it so many times where people get into these jobs, get into these things, teaching, caring, coaching, politics, and they try so bloody hard, and because of the red tape, because there isn't enough time, and by the end they lose the will and they lose the focus of why they started. And I think this is what we've got to do, is we try with cutbacks and austerity, is it the Tories are always on there, austerity, and it's we try and get, instead of having 5 people to do it, we have one person to do everything, and one person can't do everything. And unfortunately, it's the vulnerable that always suffer.
Yeah, and that's what we're finding again now, isn't it? That it's the vulnerable who are paying the price, and whether it is due to price rises or whatever. It's, I say, I don't feel like we're looking after the vulnerable enough to see them through these crises. I mean, to people to have to choose to whether put heating on or buy food is just absolutely craziness. It's crazy. There's enough money to go around that should not be happening.
Well, we were saying, I remember Chancellor Nixon, checker, and you'd be there, and it would come on back in the 90s. Beer is going up by £1, but cigarettes are going down by a penny, and then cigarettes were going down by 5 pence, and everything was in small margins. One to go up, one to go down by pence. Now we're going up by 50% in gas and electricity in April or whenever it is. Then they're on about in October going up by another 25%. And as you said, it will go up and it'll go up, but they won't go, oh, bloody hell, we've had a good year, we're going to knock it down by 80% next year.
Yeah.
And we'll get into the habit of, you know what, it's only gone up by 30% this year. It ain't so bad.
Yeah, that's it. The jumps are a lot bigger now, aren't they? And again, the jump won't be felt by the rich. It'll be felt by us on the ground. It'll certainly be felt by people with disabilities who, again, have a lot more equipment than what we have just to live a daily life. They might have suction machines which require electric, and the list goes on really. Even down to your bath. We have a motorised bath at home that lifts up and down and things along that line. People, you start taking all these things with an oxygen machine that's not running all
washing
the time.
Machines.
More washing than you had. And again, it just adds up. And I just think there's got to be a point where someone stops and goes, well, where's the limit to this? Where do you go? I think again for our children of the future, look, if they're going up, if our gas bill next year is £2,500, then, or our electric and gas is £2,500, then in 10 years' time, when my daughter moves out, she's going to have to be earning £1 million a year just to get a, not even to buy a house, just to get a rent, just to pay her bills.
But with this, I had a taxi somewhere the other day, and I was talking to a taxi driver, and he was saying his friends have fast food, and he went, because the gas and electricity is going up, and then your food price is going up, so they will have to charge more for a takeaway. They will have to.
Yeah, because the businesses, gas and electric, go up.
So you'll be paying more. And like the same with a nursing home. You're going into a nursing home, and it's already astronomically expensive when you've got to put someone in there. And then it's, well, sorry, the gas, electricity, so everything.
It's not the gas and electricity, it's your insurance on your car, the petrol that you put in your car, or a diesel you put in your car. It's all it all adds on. So the hit for a business like a takeaway is, yeah, you've got your gas and electric is going to go up. People have minimum wage is going to go up, rightly so. No, but it is going to go up. That cost has got to go somewhere, and let's face it, the big businesses of this world, they're not going to carry that cost. They're going to pass that cost on. Then you've got your delivery driver, his insurance has gone up, whose wage has gone up, his petrol's gone up. So again, that cost gets passed on. And like I say, where's the end point in it, Kev? When does life become too unaffordable to live?
And unfortunately, as you said, was it on the radio? You said the other day, the carers or disability is going to buy 3 pence in a whole year.
Yeah, 3 pence. 3 pence. It feels like I can imagine for people out there, it just feels like a slap in the face. What's the point, really? What is the point? What is that going to do? What's that going to achieve? You're no better off. Even if it was 3 pence a month, you're no better off. It's not going to help you in any way, shape, or form.
I mean, it's like with the Paralympics, Winter Games are just about to start, and all these remarkable people are going to go out there and represent the world, but Great Britain, and they're only celebrated every so often at the Paralympics or Winter Paralympics. No doubt the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham is coming up very soon. Hopefully they'll be doing stuff for that.
Well, we're waiting for Kev's. I know, actually, the Paralympics, I read the other day, or the Winter Paralympics, it's an all disabled host. So anyone who's on TV and hosting will be disabled, which Kev's waiting for his call.
But there's not enough these things, is that, to promote, because once again, we started off on our journey here of men's mental health. That went into full mental health. We started this talking about men's mental health because it was under talked about. So we've done our bit for that. And
we'll carry on like that. That doesn't stop.
Of course. But then on our journey, we were saying, me having a disability and you being a carer for a child who's got a disability, we wanted to be the voice of this and saying, it's bloody hard. It's bloody hard, but it's also rewarding.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we wanted to be the voice for these things, because through my life, seeing so many injustices as a visually impaired / blind man, but never talked about them. So we want to use this as a platform, and we want you to come on as a platform and write your comments in as a thing where people can talk about it.
Yeah, and look, let's be honest. If we have an MP on again, we've had Mike Wood and Marco on, our local MPs. We'd love to get them back on and actually discuss this and see their views on it. What are they doing for the vulnerable, and how they're going to help the vulnerable through the next couple of years.
Well, one good thing, I mean, Adam Davis, who's done lots for my club at the Lions at ABC, he got our defibrillator downstairs, and ever since we first met him on Ian Marie's show on Black Country Radio, he's been really trying to get more good disabled toilets around this area.
Yeah.
And by having conversations with the higher ups and these people, you bring it to their attention, and hopefully then, once you've brought your attention, you do something about it. And the only way the change happens is, first, you've got to make it known that something must be changed.
Yeah.
And then, once you've made it, this has got to change, is going to the next stage of changing it.
Yeah. But there's also got to be open dialogue, hasn't there, Kevin?
Yeah.
And like I say, that Marco and Mike are more than welcome back on here to discuss it. And it won't be a bashing. It's just we have to understand and again, we have to talk about it to get this change come in. So that's an open invite to both of them, and I'll make sure I put that on social media as well to Marco and Mike. Please come on, and I'd like to know your plans for helping people with disabilities and the vulnerable during the next few years.
So now Mike Wood now does do a lot with autism, and it's a passion of his.
Yeah.
And once again, disabilities, mental illness, physical disabilities, invisible disabilities. There's so much out there that's going on. And it's so difficult in so many different ways. And some things, we always say this, like some things are so easily identified, like your Cala in a wheelchair, whereas other things, me being visually impaired but high function isn't, or the bipolars, the fibromyalgias, the different levels of autism, but if we can get to that stage of being open, honest, so I can ask this question, excuse me, have you got a form of autism? Or, excuse me, I have got a form, or my child has got autism. And more that we are understanding of it, easier it will become.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how many times I've had to go, someone's going, excuse me, where's the toilet? I'm visually impaired. And I'll go over there, or I'll take you to the toilet, and then I'll leave you there, forgetting, all right, once I've been to the toilet, how the bloody hell do I get back from the toilet?
Yeah, but this comes back into conversation, Kev, doesn't it? Because they just don't, you know,
Don't
if you're
realise.
naive to it, you don't realise.
No.
It's not in your, it's, you know, it's, you've not been in that situation before, so you don't know that you actually, I probably should hang around to help that person back. It's just like, oh, I've helped that person.
Yeah.
You know, oh, I've done a good deed, and feel happy for yourself for doing that. But yeah, I think more education and more going, well, fantastic, you helped at that point, but actually if you hang around there a bit, you can help again.
And this is what we want to get into. Like, we've done a couple of public speaking, but we'd like to go and be into businesses, corporations, colleges, school, and give these kind of conversations, these kind of talks, and educate people, saying, yeah, what can we do better? Not just as a box ticking exercise, because that drives me bloody mad. And that doesn't help anyone. I've done this just to do it. But by being there and learning, then we can make a change.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you know, we're on about benefits and all this. Sometimes what we do is we just throw money at it. Throw. And if it changes, it's that old saying, if I give a man a fish, he can eat for a day, but if I teach a man a fish, he can eat for life. It's giving people the knowledge. And knowledge creates power. Power creates change. And by giving this, maybe we can make people's lives better. And sometimes it's like, people must just sit there going, well, what can we do to make disabled people's lives better without having a disabled person or a carer in the room?
I think it goes further than that, Kev. It's not in the room, in charge of it.
Mm.
You know, why we got people deciding the futures of people with disability who don't have a disability? You know, then they're going to have no... I've said this many a times on here. Before my daughter was born, I was doing what I'm doing now, which is disability equipment. And I thought, yeah, you've got a grasp of this. You know what you're doing. You know your job. You're good at your job. And then my daughter came along, and I realised how rubbish I was. You know, but it wasn't until I've been in that experience, and it's been in that experience 24/7. You know, it's one thing to turn up to someone's house to look at a piece of equipment or quote a piece, whatever, do something, a piece of equipment, but then leave. You know, within an hour, you've done your job, you've left, and you don't see the ramifications of the decisions you're making. You know, if you get these decisions wrong with equipment, with anything really to do with disability, it has catastrophic effects on that person who's using that piece of equipment or who needs a certain support or certain help.
Well, you were saying before about the importance of having the right wheelchair, because if someone is sat there for however long in the day, posture's everything, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really important. If someone can't hold their own trunk upright, I mean, we do it now. Both of us now are leaning on something, and it's not good for our posture. But the difference is with us, we do things that in our day to day make that easier. So we'll stand, we'll walk around, we'll do that. We're not stuck in this position constantly. So although we should change, we should sit better, the chances are it's going to it'll eventually catch up with it. It's a long way down the line. There's a good chance something will do that before. But actually, if you look at someone's disabled who has no control at all over their trunk and they're unsupported, you know, it has really bad effects. It starts squashing your organs down and things along that line, and it will reduce their life. So it's vitally important. But again, mentally, this is another thing I realised as I went on the journey with my daughter, the importance of not only having the right equipment, but for that equipment to look right and look good. And most people, you know, most disability equipment is an ugly piece of equipment, let's face it, you know. But actually having the right piece of equipment that looks good improves your mental health, improves your mental well-being. It gets conversation started because people will look and admire that and talk about it then.
Well, it is, isn't it? And as you're saying, it's these things, until you know about it, how are you going to talk about it? It's like with boxing. boxing, amateur boxing, everyone knows I'm an amateur boxing coach. But sometimes the people who run the sport don't run boxing gyms. They're not. I'm not saying you had to have boxed, but being in a club, seeing the lives it changes, seeing that how many times in sport, but I'll talk about boxing because I know about boxing, you change rules that affect nothing. You can't wear this because it's not a certain brand. As long as the head guard is good quality, does it matter if it's Adidas, Sting, Green Hill? No. Oh, well, your boxer can't box. Why? Because that's just getting someone rich. But we won't change rules, i.e., on I can't be Kevin Dillon, then I could be Morris Dillon, then I could be Dylan Morris, and I can't keep changing my name. So I've gone from having 10 bouts, knocked out 10, to Morris Dillon, I've had 2, lost 2, to Dylan Kevin. If you're lying about your experience, your age, you should be banned. You should be that should be something to get in trouble about, because child welfare, and you're potentially getting someone hurt. These should be things that we change. You know what I mean? But no, we'll change head guards, we'll change wraps, but because people don't care, no, because you're not in that line of work, if you're not from that community, how can you understand the benefit of it?
But you're definitely right. But people who are in charge should make it a point to be integrated within that community. I think that's the clue. If you're in that position, it is your job to know the ins and outs of how to run a boxing club. But
it's like when you have like MPs who don't live in that establishment, or you have we all know there's too many. People who run businesses. I won't just call it the NHS, but businesses out there, and hopefully people listen to that. They're up here shedding the rules, but the people in the trenches who see the nitty, the gritty, the filthy, the rewards and the sacrifice haven't often got a say. And they will say, we need more drills, we need more hammers, we need more plasters, we need more workers, but they haven't got the say. But they know what we need because they are there on the front line. Yeah. Well, you see that a lot, don't you? You see that a lot, that the people on the front line screaming out for the things, and usually something else comes along that has no help or good effect on what you're doing. But it's not good. But what do you think we can do? Hopefully by getting out here and talking, what we're trying to do is our bit. Get the conversations flowing. And if you've got any ideas, please write them into us. You know what I mean? Because we're A, looking for guests, B, looking for answers. You know what I mean? So by having conversations, hopefully we can make a change. Yeah. To me, it's as simple as employing the right people to do the right job. So again, if you're doing anything to do with disability and making any rules to do with disability, doing that, don't just get disabled people in the room. Get them leading the charge. Get them in the position that they deserve to be in, where they have an understanding, a 24/7 understanding of what's going on. In fact, I don't know when it was, last year or the year before, years fly by, and there's a massive thing saying, how can we make women safe? And I said, why are we just asking blokes how we can make women safe? How can I make my wife, my daughter, my mother safe? Let's ask the women, what can we do? It's not, again, Kevin, it's about asking them or going, let them tell us. There you go. You do it. You're there. You do it. You go out there and do it. We'll put you in a position of enough power to go out there and make those changes. Yeah. And I say we put you in that position, but you know what I mean? Yeah. That job. But get people working and get them to lead it. Because I think that's what we do. It so much is, well, I believe what we to me, it's also if you're asking questions. So if it is something, again, we'll go back to disability. If someone came up to me, had never looked after someone with a disability, I'm less likely to open up to them and tell them what's going on than if someone turned up who has experience, because we have a common ground. So you have something to talk about. The conversation's more flowing, and they understand the struggles and problems you go through. So you're going to get more value out of that. And the same with boxing. You get someone in charge of boxing who's
been there, done it, got the T-shirt, can come down to you, speak to you about it, understands the struggle, you're going to get a better conversation. You're going to know the questions that you should be asking. Because if you're inexperienced, how do you come into a boxing club and know what to ask you?
Yeah.
You know.
And that's the same with mental illness.
Yep, same with mental illness.
Because, as we saw with our support crews, which unfortunately have come to an end next to doing our beatboxing, which I'll go into at the end. But what we loved about it was shared experience. Knowing sometimes when to shut up, sometimes when to give your experience. And it was lovely what we had. We had these group of lads and we were just going, I've been there or I've never been there. Can you explain it to me? And you're more likely to have that open conversation because everyone have been through their form of pain, uncomfort, and hopefully a bit of success.
Yeah.
But what we've been doing the beatboxing. We've been doing it for a while now. We do mixed classes 3 times a week, every Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, 10:30 to 11:30 a.m. And ladies only every Wednesday, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and Fridays at 11:30 to 12:30. And what we're doing is we're calling it beatboxing because beatboxing, we're going to beat obesity, we're going to beat loneliness, beat depression, beat anxiety, beat all these things by using sport and talking. And what I've always loved about this place, Lions ABC, is there is that open dialogue where people can come and talk to me or the other coaches. And because we've got successful with the Black Country Blokes and how open we have been, people have been even more open and talking. And I love it sometimes in the club where we've got a group of however many, 10, 15, 20, and we're literally having a conversation as a class about things that have been so difficult in the past to have a conversation with just one person. And you've got this open dialogue of people going from fatherhood, motherhood, depression, anxiety, fear, bullying, attacks, prejudice, and we're talking as a unit. It's been rather liberating for so many people.
And listening as a unit, Kev.
Yeah.
You know, everyone listens, and we said before, you don't need to find the solution to people's problems. You just need to listen to them.
And it touches me. We saw someone the other day. He hadn't been for a while. And I said, I'm so glad to see you. We hadn't seen you in a while. And he says, life's been going on, but I listened to this podcast and you knocked it on the head. You said, like, you're always welcome back in. And it was lovely, you know, because he come back and it's like where he just left off. So I think what happens with so many people, and I often wonder what's happened to Tom, Dick and Harry, and they leave you see them every day or every week, and then they just vanish, and then I bump into them in the pub or in the shops or wherever. And I say, what happened? And I went, well, I got poorly and then I lost my job, and then it'd been a week, they turned into a month, they turned to 2 months, and I felt embarrassed for coming back. So anyone who is listening to this, don't feel embarrassed, just the door's always open. You know, if you want to drop a message on anything, just turn up. The door is always open. And that's where we want it to be, the safe place where you can come and get fit, a body and mind. I think I'll do it, Bruv.
Yeah.
Got any sayings up, Paul?
You know what? The loads have been coming up, actually. I've been using some on... we've got anyone who follows our Facebook, you'll be noticing there's a lot of sayings going on, a lot of quotes. So we have 2 quotes a day. Go on there, go and check them out. There's some cracking quotes. So I'm going to pull one up if my phone loads really quick. So for once, Kev, I might have I have to read it, like. Okay, I'm going to find a good one. So keep chatting, Kev, while I find a good one.
As I say, if you want to come attend our beatboxing, all the information is on our Facebook. And if you're on Instagram, every day or every other day, there's positive quotes on there, little videos. And I always say, our diet isn't just what we eat, it's what we put into our bodies. So put as much positivity and happiness into your body, whether it's listening to it, seeing it, tasting it, feeling it. There's enough love and positivity out there. So find your medicine.
Okay, this is a nice short one, actually, and it kind of relates to the podcast and beginning it. And all it is to begin.
Right, well, short. Bloody hell, the easiest one to read. But guys, join us on Thursday on our radio show on Black Country Extra. Until we see each other next time, guys. Take care of yourselves and each other. Ta-ra a bit.
Listen.
And that's a wrap for another show. But if there are any comments or messages that you would like us to read out for our next podcast, please be in touch. There are also lots of different organisations at the bottom of this page, and hopefully they can help you or someone you care about. Please share this to spread the word. Until we talk next time, ta-ra a bit.
Listen.